it's okay to pursue the things that are in your heart. It's not selfish. I think especially in the Christian world, you've been taught exactly the opposite. I know what you've been taught. Probably did a bit of teaching that myself, that like you need to put the community first. You need to, put it's God first. And I'm not saying that those things are not important, but I'm saying that you are putting God first and you are putting others first when you pay attention to the desires that God has put inside you.
This is Biz Ninja Entrepreneur Radio with your host, Tyler Jorgensen.
Welcome out to Biz Ninja Entrepreneur Radio. I'm your host, Tyler Jorgensen, and today we get to sit down with Harrison Wilder. And in addition to having a book coming out soon, in addition to helping people become paid speakers, in addition to his own podcast and his show, Harrison also supports his wife and what they do and builds it, and they're building just an entire empire of things. So I'm so excited to have Harrison out on the show. Welcome out.
Thanks, Tyler, so much, man. I'm really excited to be here and really appreciate you having me out on the program. I think we're going to have a lot of fun today.
I agree. So when was that moment in your life that you first realized that entrepreneurship was for you?
Yeah, well, Tyler, my wife and I come from 18 years of pastoral ministry background. And I think though we've always had this kind of entrepreneur flair about us. I remember even before we got into ministry, we were I was involved in real estate. She's doing graphics design. We're trying to have our own stuff, but I think that through 18 years of ministry, at some point in there, we realized, man, like we just want to have control over our time, control over our life, control over our priorities, the ability to pursue the things that are in our heart. And I don't know, that kind of pushed us over the edge. And finally we were like, we gotta make the jump and we got to do this.
Yeah. I've noticed a strong correlation between people who feel called to the ministry or feel called to lead in that field, also feeling called to like the call to contribution into entrepreneurship. And so I don't know how strong the Venn diagram is outside of my perspective, but it seems really strong. And so I know, what were some of the biggest lessons you learned from Pastoral Ministry that helped you immediately apply into business?
Yeah, well, I think, what you're saying is so important. Like people who are impact-driven people, I think are often drawn to ministry because of the impact that they can have, and they're often drawn to maybe nonprofit work. I was just sitting outside of a restaurant the other day, and I was watching, some guys attack everybody that came by trying to raise money. Well, attack's a strong word.
Okay.
But,
yeah. I didn't know we were going. I was nervous.
They weren't attacking them, but maybe harassing the people that came by and, trying to get them into a guilty place where they might give them a few dollars. And I was thinking to myself, like, man, it was actually the guy who was working at the restaurant passed him by. And he came inside and clocked in after that. And I was just thinking about like, man, it's a different thing when you start working and providing value to other people and then you earn money doing that and then decide to give that money to the causes that you care about. Now that makes you kind of think twice before you part with that money. You're kind of like, oh, I invested my life into generating this. And so I think, I think that these skills of like, wanting to make an impact in things often apply in the nonprofit world. But man, when we can figure out how to force ourselves to figure out like, man, can I actually add value to people in a way that they want to just give me tons of money because I'm providing so much value to them, and then turn around and, use that money to take care of all the causes and things that you care about.
Yeah, I love that perspective on it, right? It's one thing to raise money. It's another thing to generate value and add value into the marketplace. I mean, I think everybody knows that the natural path to entrepreneurship is working in the ministry and then becoming a corporate strategist entrepreneur and getting an MBA from George Washington University. That's the normal path, right? Yeah, and so, yeah, what does that mean that you're a corporate strategist?
Yeah. Well, one of my things, Tyler, when we came out of 18 years of ministry, we moved to Houston. We actually had a great church here in Houston that we wanted to be a part of. So we're just like, we're going to go there. We're going to let our kids, be in a great church, and we're going to figure out what we're going to do next. I proceeded to sit on the balcony of our small 2-bedroom apartment for the next 2 years, looking out over the community pool, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And in that season, I discovered all kinds of things about myself. And I think this is important. It's important for people to go sometimes through phases of self-discovery. Eileen was a little agitated, I guess. I could feel her glaring at me behind the window over the balcony, kind of being like, "Are you gonna like do something? Or are we gonna be in this 2-bedroom apartment forever?" But when I was considering like, what am I good at? What do I enjoy? I didn't want to spend the next 20 years tied up doing something that I was not passionate about or felt like I had to do. And so, but one of the things I discovered for myself, Tyler, was that I don't have any execution skills. I took the StrengthsFinders test. Here I was, I'd been an executive pastor for the last many years, and I was always doing stuff. And I find out through StrengthsFinders that I don't even have any execution gifts. Like, I am a strategist. All of my gifts are in strategy. I don't like to be around people, and I don't like to actually do stuff. Or
That's
I'm not good
amazing.
at it. So when I started thinking about how I can really help people, it is in giving advice. So I know you're very similar in this. You've got, what you do for companies, what you do for businesses, is often, come alongside people, give them great advice that they can go out and run with. And these are just my gifts. So I've kind of come to accept that that's what I am. I'm a strategist. I can help people plan and I can take all the information I've accumulated, from all the research and different things that I do, and then know exactly what you need to do. And then you can go do it.
Well, I think, that's a very biblical thing, right? StrengthsFinders kind of correlates into talents, right? And the talents that you have and what you do. And do you align with the concept of that it's almost better to lean into the talents you have than to try to like overdevelop your weaknesses and fix those things? Like, have you heard that concept before? Do you align with that?
I do. And I would 100% agree with that. I think that my family would probably say that Harrison is a master of that. He does not focus on his weaknesses. Everything's about what I'm good at and trying to build everything in my life around what I'm good at.
Yeah,
I think, Tyler,
funny.
you can see that principle play out in relationships. I think that's a great kind of analogy. When couples get really focused on the weaknesses in their relationship and trying to fix those weaknesses, man, that's a recipe for spiraling things downhill. Like, you're like, oh man, we're not doing this like we're supposed to, and we should really focus on doing this. But if we can get focused in on, those strong moments that we have as a couple and be like, how can we create more of those? Like, if we think back to when was the moment that we last really enjoyed being together, and how can we do that more instead of keep focusing on putting ourselves in situations that we're not enjoying and trying to fix it? Our relationships will come out a lot better. So I think it's the same thing with us personally. Just we find those strong moments. I think there's a book out there actually called Strong Moments, and it's around this whole idea, like what gets you to come alive? What gets you, like, what are the things that when you do them, it actually gives you more energy? And it just feels so easy to you, and do more of those things instead of doing all the stuff that everybody else says you should do that you're not necessarily good at.
Yeah. I love the concept. So you're sitting out there on the balcony, staring out over your kingdom here and figuring out, okay, what is it that Harrison actually wants to do? What was your first big step into entrepreneurship and business?
Yeah. Well, it really started, Tyler, with a question. And because I was sitting there on the balcony, I really was trying to figure out, like, because when you come from a ministry background, you're trying to figure out, what does God want me to do? You're used to, like, also in many environments, you're used to like taking cues from your leadership on what you should be doing and how you should be spending your time. And now I'm sitting there and it's all up to me. I got to figure this out. And I love that in some ways because I love the independence. I love like that. But in the other ways, I'm like, wow, so it's anything. There's no boundaries here. There's no restrictions. And sometimes creativity has a hard time thriving when there's no restriction. And so I started thinking about, because after about 2 years of this, I realized that moving to Houston in itself had been a really good move for us, right? And I know you guys over in LA don't care too much for the Houston people, but for us, it was a good move, and it turned out to be really good for our children. all kinds of doors were opening for my daughter. It had been really good for my wife. While I'm just trying to sort all these things out, I had to acknowledge that this move was really good. So I started thinking about what caused us to make that move. Like when we made that decision, what were we thinking about? And I realized, man, we didn't really feel like God had like spoken to us, go to Houston, or that it was, or there was any strategic value. It wasn't like a logical decision for us. We didn't have any family there. There was no reason to go there. But we went there because of one simple question. A pastor had talked to my wife, Eileen, in a green room somewhere, and he asked her, he said, Eileen, if you could live anywhere in the world that you wanted to live, where would you want to live? And that question, first of all, completely shocked us because nobody had ever asked us, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do with your life? What's inside of your heart? What is your desire? What could you do if you could do anything in the world? What would you do? That seemed like a selfish question at the time. And so it really caught us off guard. But Eileen came home from that green room and she said, she asked me the same question. And we landed through just consulting like what was in our heart. We landed on coming to Houston, which turned out to be a very powerful move. So when I'm sitting on the balcony, I start asking myself, what do I want? Like what? And I gave myself permission for the first time to really lean into like, what do I want to do? Who are the people I want to reach? What do I see for myself? What's the impact that I want to have? And that is what birthed what Eileen and I do now, which is really just helping entrepreneurs go out there and share their message with the world, get consistency in their income and their business, and then go out and like do all the things that they feel like they're called to do.
When you made that decision, you said, okay, now we're starting to lean into this is what we're going to do and what we're going to create. Were you able to look back and see how you'd like built that brick by brick and how you'd been prepared for that moment? I can imagine that 18 years of ministry work gives you a lot of stage speaking experience, a lot of public speaking experience, a lot of interpersonal work. So what kind of things prepared you for, for that next step?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is interesting when you start making steps forward, how you realize that the whole thing is already, it's like a big setup, like life is, God's just setting you up for whatever's next. And that was definitely true for us. I mean, both Eileen and I, tons of speaking experience, tons of leadership experience. Really, people don't think about pastoring like this, but tons of sales experience. Like if you can get volunteers to show up at 5:30 in the morning every Sunday to set up a church for no money. Well, you're pretty good at sales. Like if you can get people to give every week and contribute, so a lot of sales training, a lot of leadership training, a lot of organizational management. The church that we were part of grew significantly during the time that we were there, and so we got to learn a lot about how to build an organization, how to build staff and those types of things. So yeah, it was a big setup, man. Like it was clear that the stage had been set for what we were supposed to do. Awesome.
What are you and Eileen both working on now?
Yeah. We've got some pretty fun stuff that we're rolling out. One of the things that we've done over the last few years is to build an engine, what we call our back end of our business. And so, I know your audience is a lot of business people. Adding on a premium programs in the back of your business, like coaching programs, consulting programs, things that you can do. These are hugely valuable and it can increase the lifetime value of your clients significantly. And a lot of people aren't doing this. But we built ours, and ours is actually helping people do that. So we help people create those back-end programs and mechanisms for selling them where they only have to sell once a month and they fill up all these back-end programs. And so that's what we do with entrepreneurs. So now what we're excited about doing, because our belief system is kind of like build that first, right? So if I were going to give any advice to anybody out there who's listening and you're thinking about going into entrepreneurship right now, I'd be like, build the back-end first. Build the premium programs. Don't start with these low ticket things. It'll take you years to figure it out, and you might not ever figure it out, and you're going to invest a lot of money doing that in the meantime. So start premium, start premium over here, and then build down the value ladder. So we're getting excited about building down the value ladder, writing books and content and things like that we can roll out to bring people into our world, and then the ones that are right fits, they'll discover our premium backend programs.
I'm fully in alignment with that. I've been building funnels for, it feels like, over a decade now, and have worked with a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of people coming in that think that they, need to follow the value ladder from the bottom up. And holy cow, if you haven't figured out your whole business yet, starting with frees and free plus shippings and all these things is a recipe for disaster. And I've worked with clients on both sides. I've done projects of my own on both sides, and I have been waving the banner of start with premium, start with high ticket for a long time. It's great to hear you guys saying it, because man, it sure allows for a lot more learning mistakes and learning curve, right? When the tickets are higher. You can have one sale a month and it can okay, we're good. We can go another month. You do that with the free plus shipping book and you lost 20 grand.
Exactly. You're 100%. I mean, 100%, Tyler.
Yeah.
You're right about that. And I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, that was, when the cost to acquire customer was like nothing on the internet. Maybe that was possible. Maybe that was great.
It still wasn't smart, because if you could do it, but I still think your way was the right way. So I'm glad that you guys are out there teaching that and helping people create it, because man, it's so powerful. And as someone who's run a lot of ads as an agency and has helped other people do it, it's good to hear, because that wasn't ever something I did, is help them build those programs. I was more of like, hey, this is what you should do. So it's really neat. You guys are helping people create that. So you guys are you have coaching programs. You've been working on a really neat project. Tell us about the book you're writing.
Yeah, I would love to tell you about the Unleashed Life, which is the book that I've almost wrapped up, and we're going to be rolling out a course about it real soon. The Life Unleashed. And Life Unleashed is the idea that you can, I guess it's starting with this story that I just told you about, like sitting on that balcony, like the starting point of living a truly unleashed, fulfilled life, a life of adventure, is recognizing that the things that are inside of you, the desires that are inside of you, are something that are very spiritual, something that's been put there by God. In fact, if you break down the word desire, you'll find that the word means in Latin, like of sire, the Father. So the desires that are inside of you are of the Father. They're the things that God has planted inside of you. And so what I want to do with this book, Tyler, main thing, if I could wave a magic wand, do anything I want, is to just share with the world that it's okay. It's okay to pursue the things that are in your heart. It's not selfish. I think especially in the Christian world, you've been taught exactly the opposite. I know what you've been taught. Probably did a bit of teaching that myself, that you need to put the community first. You need to, put it's God first. And I'm not saying that those things are not important, but I'm saying that you are putting God first and you are putting others first when you pay attention to the desires that God has put inside you and allow yourself to pursue them. So in the book, I break down a framework for, first of all, really getting in touch with being able to see those desires, and then equipping you to be able to speak those desires out. So it's one of the things I've learned through scripture is the importance of aligning what you're saying with what you're seeing in your imagination, in the spirit realm and the realm of your desires. And then really just looking for the opportunities where God is already moving and shaping things. Just like you asked me earlier, how were things set up? Like, did you find that everything had already been aligned? And the answer was yes, 100%. God wants to bring about your desires even more than you do. And so the book shows you how to find and identify where God's already moving, and then start in alignment with where he's already working. And this is how we get rid of all the hustle. This is how we get rid of all the just spinning our wheels, doing things that aren't making a difference and not moving the needle. We just find out what he's already doing, and then we go do that. So that's what I break down in the book.
Yeah, alignment is so powerful. What are some of the strongest leashes that we've just got to cut if we want to live a life unleashed?
Yeah. Well, the starting point is really I mean, they're mindset things, like that hold most people back. I think the leashes that really keep us from just embracing that life. I like. I mean, I could pick a couple of them to talk about. One of them is the belief that money matters. This is most people are like feel like that's wrong. They think that like, oh no, I'm supposed to like be able to function without money. I'm supposed to, I'm not supposed to care about that. The love, like money is the root of all evil. And I know we've got some biblical context there. But if we really understand what it is that Jesus is saying there, we realize that no, we're supposed to have an abundance of money, and it's supposed to be our servant, our tool that we can use it. And I think when wealthy people understand this, another thing that wealthy people understand, people who are living a truly unleashed life out there, not to say that all wealthy people are living an unleashed life, but they have a belief system that everything I need is already available to me. Most of us are out there, we're trying to hustle and work hard and apprehend things that we think we don't have yet, instead of adapting the belief that, wait a minute, no, everything I have is already here for me. My job is just go find it. I just got to seek it out. I just got to look for it. And if you can live that way, life becomes an adventure. Like it's just like a hide and seek game. Like everything you need to achieve your desires is like out there, and now you just got to seek it out and find it. Life becomes a lot more fun that way. And that's what I think the unleashed life really is. Just fun, adventure, some challenges. Yeah. But they just, they feel good because you have this trust that everything's already working together for your good.
I'm such a big believer in mindset work and in doing the work to understand really that we have to disconnect from the outcome and really just focus on what we can control. And there's been a lot of signs and things in my life that have just brought me back to, I used to study this stuff a lot, like 15, 20 years ago, and I'm kind of coming back into it right now. What are some of the resources or your favorite places to study mindset and people you learn from?
Well, I got to be honest with you, Tyler. Like, because of my background, I pull this stuff out of the Bible for the most part. And I'll apologize in advance to anybody when you buy my book. It's just all I got is biblical stories. It's just like story after story. This is where I find this stuff playing out, and where I really see it like in operation. I mean, of course, there are some books that have changed my life. One of the first books I picked up in college, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, really shifted my whole mindset about what a job was and how that's like the opposite of the unleashed life. That was an incredible book. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People radically changed, just my understanding of like taking proactivity over my own life and just having some simple time management structures in place to help me move forward towards my dreams. These are important things to me, but I usually just kind of keep coming back to the Bible. If you're, looking for like a daily thing that I'm like always just getting into, that's where I'm pulling it from.
That makes sense. I wouldn't expect anything else, right? I mean, you didn't say after 18 years of pastoral ministry, it wasn't like you were leaving everything behind, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I figured you were carrying that with you. What do you have? Hey, since we're on the topic, do you have a favorite verse that really pulls you through some of the tougher times of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I really like this thing that Jesus said. He said that the enemy has come to steal, kill, and destroy. But I have come that you can have life and life abundantly. John 10:10. And this idea, I think if we really were to meditate on that, if that was the only thing you would take the next year and really think about and kind of dwell on, every time that you see something being taken from you, every time that you, like in your relationship, in your finances, in your business, every time you see something being destroyed, you feel like you're being robbed. That's not God's plan for you. That's not his heart. That's not what he wants. And I think, especially in our church-going world, sometimes we're like, oh, God's teaching me a lesson. God's trying to God's punishing me for something I did wrong. We have this perspective, but it's not God. That's the enemy. All those things are the enemy. Jesus came, and what he really wants for you to have is an abundant life. Peace of God, which means everything complete, everything whole in your life, spirit, soul, body, socially, financially. I love that scripture, and I love thinking about this is that God's in my corner. He wants me to have an abundant life.
I think that's pretty great. Great scripture. I'm glad that I asked. A lot of what we talk about on this show is lifestyle design. So I'm loving that you're talking about Life Unleashed. One of our early guests on the show was Tim Ferriss, who wrote The 4-Hour Workweek, which was one of my big catalyst books, along with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I would say the third book that really was like my catalyst was .com Secrets by Russell Brunson, who we talked about earlier before we hit record. So we've hit the trifecta now. But when we hit on lifestyle design, and you're talking about this in Life Unleashed and living and creating, what is one item on your personal bucket list that you're going to accomplish in the next 12 months?
Ooh, well, I am really excited about really growing my influence in this season, Tyler. Like when I really get down, like what is my desire? I want to reach a ton of people with this message. Like, I think that the idea of people stepping out, like having permission to live in the unleashed life is really important. I think things like what you're talking about are so important. And so, like, again, if I could wave a magic wand, have my selfish desire come to pass, it would be to reach tons of people with that message over the next year. And so that's what I'm seeing inside of myself. And that's what I'm looking for out there on the horizon for how God's setting things up for that.
I love that. And I love that you still came back to work type stuff because, but for you, I think it's all intertwined, right? You just life blends together. What about just something on, I always say like stepping away from business, right? Is there somewhere you want to go, something you want to do, something you want to learn?
Well, I've got passion projects, Tyler. I'll put it like that, and one of them is I've got a short film that's being released based off of a novel that I wrote recently. Something to talk about another time.
Yeah. You don't have to go into detail, but I love that you're sharing it.
Yeah, and that like when I think away from business, because there are a few things I find myself just kind of dabbling in, and this particular short film, Tyler, is going to bring together people from all different faiths and really help them see how we can love each other a little better and how we can come together under the teachings that Jesus gave us to just like love each other and not have to, hurt each other and kill each other and do all these things that we're doing all over the world today. And so this is one of the projects that I'm working on that I'd love to see take off in the next couple of years.
That's good, man. I think leaning into those passion projects, like you said earlier, it's, you're responding to that pull, right? That call that's already happening within you. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about it when you're ready to share it with me. But to all my biz ninjas, say thanks to Harrison, and to wherever you're listening, watching, or tuning in, it's your turn to go out and do something.